Welcome to today's lesson on how scientific advances have helped treat infertility and enable pregnancies, focusing on hormonal treatments and in vitro fertilisation, IVF. In today's lesson, we will examine how hormonal treatments can assist in combating infertility and enhance the chances of pregnancy. We will also look at IVF, a revolutionary technique that has enabled countless couples to conceive. Additionally, we will weigh up the advantages and disadvantages of these treatments, giving you a comprehensive understanding of their impacts and implications. So far, you have learned about homeostasis and the role of hormones in puberty. This knowledge of how hormones regulate bodily functions and developmental changes is critical. It provides a solid foundation for understanding how hormonal imbalances or deficiencies can affect fertility, and how treatments can address these issues. Understanding how hormonal treatments and IVF work not only broadens our biological understanding, but also highlights the significant scientific progress in medical treatments. This knowledge is essential as it helps us appreciate the complexity of human physiology and the advances in medical science that improve human health and quality of life. Let's get started. Infertility can be defined as the inability to conceive after a year of regular, unprotected intercourse. To understand how modern scientific advances can help treat infertility, it is crucial first to understand the role of hormones in natural conception. Typically, the brain releases a hormone called follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, that helps mature the eggs in the ovaries. Once the eggs mature, the pituitary gland releases luteinizing hormone, LH, which triggers ovulation, the process of releasing an egg ready for fertilisation. Sometimes a woman's body may not produce enough FSH or LH, leading to complications in the maturation and release of eggs. This is where hormonal treatments come into play. Fertility drugs contain synthetic versions of FSH and LH. When administered, they help stimulate the ovaries to produce and release mature eggs. This increases the chances of fertilisation and pregnancy. The advantages of fertility drugs are that they provide an option for women who face hormonal imbalance and can be a successful first step before trying more advanced treatments. Disadvantages include that success is not guaranteed and may require multiple rounds of treatment, which can be expensive. There is also a risk of overstimulation, potentially causing multiple eggs to mature at once, which can lead to multiple pregnancies. This can be risky for both the mother and the babies. When hormonal treatments aren't successful or are not suitable, another widely used method is in vitro fertilisation, IVF. IVF is a complex process used to assist with fertilisation, embryo development, and implantation, which are steps necessary for pregnancy. The mother is first given artificial FSH to stimulate the maturation of multiple eggs. Following this, LH is administered to bring the eggs to the point of ovulation. The mature eggs are then collected from the mother's ovaries. In the laboratory, these eggs are fertilised by sperm, where a single sperm is injected directly into an egg. The fertilised eggs are kept in a controlled environment until they develop into tiny embryos. Once they reach the appropriate stage of development, 1 or 2 embryos are transferred back into the mother's uterus to increase the chances of pregnancy. Now let's look at the success rates of IVF and its challenges. The advantages are that it offers hope for couples who have tried other methods without success and can address various infertility issues, including low sperm count and blocked or damaged fallopian tubes. A disadvantage is that the success rate of IVF can be relatively low. In the UK, it is about 26%, meaning many couples may need to undergo several cycles. Another is that it can be emotionally and physically challenging. The hormonal treatments involved can cause side effects, such as abdominal pain and vomiting. There is also a risk of multiple pregnancies, which can lead to further complications like stillbirth or miscarriage. Let's work through a question to consolidate our knowledge. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of hormonal treatments versus IVF. Pause here to try the question yourself. Now let's go through it. The advantages of hormonal treatments include that it is less invasive than IVF, simply involves medication. Also, it is often less expensive than IVF. In terms of disadvantages of hormonal treatments, The success rates can be lower, especially in severe cases of infertility, can cause side effects due to altered hormone levels. Advantages of IVF include that it directly handles egg fertilisation, which is useful for significant infertility issues. You can also screen embryos for genetic conditions before implantation. The disadvantages of IVF are that it is a more invasive procedure, egg retrieval and embryo transfer, and typically more expensive and emotionally taxing. In summary, hormonal treatments are simpler and less costly, but may not be effective in all cases. IVF, while more complex and expensive, often has higher success rates and additional benefits like genetic screening. Today's lesson focused on how scientific advances like hormonal treatments and in vitro fertilisation, IVF, address infertility. We defined infertility as the inability to conceive after a year of regular unprotected intercourse and discussed how hormones like FSH and LH stimulate ovulation in women with egg production issues. We then covered IVF, where eggs are fertilised in a lab and transferred to the uterus, useful for couples with blocked fallopian tubes, low sperm count, or unexplained infertility. We discussed the benefits, such as enabling pregnancies and screening for genetic diseases, alongside the challenges like stress, high costs, and ethical concerns. Understanding these treatments offers insight into how science assists those struggling with infertility and highlights the complexities of reproductive health.